Hey, I'm here with a new deck to do the weekend reading today. How is everyone? How did your week go? I hope it went well. I'm on the iPad again, so let me get my eye level right. Okay, here we go. How was your weekend? I hope it went well. I will say as far as the revelations go. So last night I feel like I had like an ego death. It was unplanned. I made my food. I have some infused butter that I've made from a while ago, and I added a slice to my rice bowl. And to be frank, I feel like I had a little too much dip on my chip, and that's okay. But what came out of that was just deeper revelation and self acceptance within what I was discussing in my stories yesterday about expectations and validation. And I feel today, I feel like one that has to do with deeper wounds. You know what I mean? Like, um, it's not what I'm thinking it is at the forefront. It has something to do more so with the past and upbringing. And I was able to kind of dig into that and see really what the fear was behind that loop of consciousness, really, because I would keep coming back to that same thought or those same thoughts. And I was like, you know what? I'm really just kind of over it. Like, I would really just rather this be over with. But I didn't know that I was going. I thought I was fine after I got everything off my chest. I was like, like whatever, as long as you're growing, as long as I'm growing, like it's cool. But then when the feelings of vertigo set in, I was faced with what the issue of fear was beneath the surface of those thoughts. So I'm really appreciative. It was very uncomfortable, but I was really appreciative of being able to ride those waves in a way that had me confront my issues versus trying to pretend it's something that it's not. So I know how some people say, healing is ugly, and I don't think healing is ugly, but it can be. And you do have to be willing to, you do have to be willing to face uncomfortable and ugly feelings. And sometimes facing uncomfortable feelings can be ugly, I guess. Um, I was in the bed, so I don't know what it looked like, but I um happy to face, myself in ways that I need to in order to keep going. So, for anybody else that might be, confronting some difficult or uncomfortable feelings, emotions, you got this. You got this. Just don't run away. It's gonna feel like the end, and it is, but there's also a new beginning that comes from ending. So just know that the only way out is through. It's better if you just go through that discomfort and see what happens when you come out on the other side. Just have faith that you come out on the other side of that, no matter what it is, because our feelings are valid, even though if they seem silly and we put ourselves in vulnerable positions to confront those things. I think it's important to just not be ashamed. I think the shame is what keeps us from looking in the mirror or looking at ourselves the way we need to a lot of the time. And it's not about anybody else. It's not about that. It's about your relationship with yourself or our relationship with ourselves and how we navigate evolving through this journey. So, with that said, I kind of want to start with a song of the week this time, but I will introduce a new deck. I had this deck in the mini version, so this is the mini version of this deck here. The deck is called Every Little Thing You Do Is Magic, by Callie Little and Maria Seal. And it's such a cute deck. I think I've used this deck on here before, the mini version is actually for one of the readings, but I never had the official interpretation, like the book that comes along with it. And I went ahead and got myself a copy of it because I like to respect the creators of Oracle and Tarot decks, because their interpretations, though they don't always come out as literal as intended during readings, because each reading tells a different story, and meanings and symbologies change depending on what story is being told, right? They begin to represent things in more dynamic ways. So I do have the original version, because this was the deck that I got when I ordered the mystery deck, the mini version. So I got the official version, and I love the way that they when you get this deck, they give you a card, so you can place a card. Like if you have an altar space or something, then you can use the archetype of that card to place like on your altar. So I haven't folded mine down, but it has instructions on the back of how you fold it down and all that. And the cards are much bigger in the original deck. They're about this size versus this size. You see what I'm saying? So I feel like I got a full and a travel size, and I love that for me. I'm going to use the full size deck today, and if I feel like we need to go into any of the book interpretations to add to the messages, I'll do that. Also, let's start with a song of the week. I'm going to pull up my Spotify right quick. Go to like songs and go to shuffle. Okay, so the song that is already on is Big Papa from the 2007 remaster of the Notorious B.I.G. However, okay, I'm gonna start right here. That's the song that is on right there, and I'm gonna swipe across 3 times so we can get a song of the week. Okay, let me turn my volume up too. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. Okay. Can y'all hear this? It Spins by Smino. Okay. I do not own the rights to this music. All right. What's funny about that is that was my night last night. I wasn't sleeping that good because I literally had the spins. I felt like I was on a roller coaster for a lot of the night. So that's funny. I don't know how that applies to y'all for the weekend, but we're gonna pull cards. Okay. So, if you want to take a minute to center yourself, meditate, take a few deep breaths beforehand, I would say go ahead and do that while I'm shuffling. You want to call in any of your guides or whoever it is that you are connected to, you can do that. Or like I said, if you just want to take a couple of deep breaths before I start pulling the cards, that's good too. What's up, Dale? All right, so let's see what we got for this weekend. Only thing that I'm feeling so far is not being afraid to face yourself, but that's based off of my experience. So trying to tap more into y'all's experience for the weekend, to the collective experience for the weekend. So let's see what we got. All right, they gave me 3 cards. Great. Let's start. So the first card out we have is the 7 of Wands. Second card is the 3 of Cups. Third card is the Magician. I love this. All right, so this feels like using the moments to celebrate in order to elevate, using moments to celebrate in order to master yourself. This could be about, using celebratory energy to uplift, to give yourself credit and not be ashamed to lean on your support systems. The people in your life who show up for you when you may be feeling a little bit in crisis, or like the 7 of Wands, the wands are energy, emotion, our divine will, and our will in alignment with the divine. And It's fiery. So this image here, it has, flowers here. There's 7 wands in the background, but there's also a pair of scissors here. So there's an energy of cutting back, like literally, but you're not cutting out. So this also may be like not taking it too far when it comes to indulging, because the Three of Cups does have to do with, like, celebrating with alcohol. Ooh, and the Justice card. I pulled another card. So yeah. So this is about celebrating yourself. It's celebrating the work that you've put in and acknowledging what you've done and what you're doing to take care of you. But it's also asking you to acknowledge those people who you know are your solid support, and whom you know that you can celebrate with, and whom you don't have to question. These are like your tried and true people, like the people that you know at their core are going to be there for you and that show up for you and who see you clearly. I kind of want to look at the insert for the Seven of Wands for this deck, but the energy from the images themselves, this is about you taking things from the ground and raising the energy higher. So it's taking the work that you do, and it's almost like exalting yourself. It's not about being it's not about hubris, or being too cocky or being too full of yourself. This is the genuine work that you've done, and you know that the acknowledgement that you give yourself is valid, and the people who truly see you are seeing you to validate you in that same light, but in a sense of how you've already given that to yourself. All right, this Magician card always cracks me up. This little raccoon is so funny to me. But yeah, and keep going. Make sure that you understand the tools that you've been able to work with, and I would even say review the tools that you've been able to work with to see how you can then use them differently moving forward, or in new ways that support where you're going. Hold on, I want to see a little bit more about this Seven of Wands, and I want to ask a little bit more about this Magician. Can you tell me a little bit more about the Seven of Wands, please? Mm-hmm. Okay, so it gave me the Five of Cups. And what about this Magician? Great. 2 more cards with the Magician. Yeah. Okay, so with the Seven of Wands, the second card that came out with that was the Five of Cups. So this is about recognizing what still fulfills you emotionally. So I feel like the Seven of Wands is tied more so to the past, with the Seven of Cups coming out, because then we move over into the celebratory energy with the Three of Cups and into the Magician. So the Seven of Cups is about what you've already removed from your life, I feel so now. And you feeling like you've had to use your will in a way that feels a lot more like resistance than actual, like you're still moving forward or have moved forward from the past, but it's been met with a lot of resistance, and it showed you where you essentially need to prune your garden. But you see that emotionally there was still something that you wanted to hold on to, so you may have had some heavier emotions to move through before you could even get to this Three of Cups celebration moment here. And with the Magician at the end coming out with the World and the Six of Wands, it's a celebration and a new beginning. So again, using your tools, these are your tools. You got your wands, your cups, your pentacles, and your sword. That's what I'm trying to say. Your wands, your cups, your pentacles, and your swords. So went blank. So being able to see how to use these tools in new ways, and remember that these tools, the wands, the cups, pentacles, and swords, are faculties of the self. So your will, your emotions, your mind, okay, and your creative ideas, or your resources, your physical resources, so, and materials, objects. So understanding how in the past you've used these things to get you where you are now, whereas to acknowledge yourself in a certain level of celebration and elevating that energy, see how you can then apply that to the future or to your new beginning, because there's a victory to be had. This feels like a really feel good weekend and a celebratory weekend, and a weekend to acknowledge yourself, your accomplishments, and how to feel good. That's essentially it. And there's justice involved. I love the justice card because this is like divine intervention. This is the justice that you are not necessarily creating on your own. This is divine intervention, especially with all this purple here. And this is supposed to be an angel. So just be on the lookout for divine help. If you've been, you know, we've been talking about alignment with the feeling of miracles. Is that type of energy, but the miracle is you. I feel like with this reading, the miracle is you, but also just look out for divine help. There may be a serendipitous moment, or a moment of epiphany, or a moment of help coming in from an unexpected place. Keep your mind and your heart open to those things this weekend as well. But I would say no matter what you've gone through in the past or the recent past, whatever sadness that you moved out of, there's still hope there. That's why this one cup is still there in the Five of Cups. So there may be things that have been, removed, but there's also a lot to celebrate. So I would just say, allow the good to come in. Allow yourself to see that your gifts are not always physical. Your gifts are being supported in the physical, but they're not always immediately tangible, is what I want to say. So keeping your spirits up and keeping your mind open and your heart open this weekend is going to allow that elevation to come through that's supposed to come through these celebratory energies here. And again, with it being the Three of Cups, know that whoever is showing up authentically. I would say authentically. Let's say one more to see about this Three of Cups, because it's the only one I didn't really ask about other than the Magician, the Seven of Wands. Anything else to be added to this Three of Cups energy? I want to also say to remember that you have plenty. You have plenty. Plenty to acknowledge about yourself, plenty to celebrate, plenty to be thankful for. There's plenty to show gratitude for this weekend. Well, every day, but plenty to be grateful for. Okay. And then we got two more cards in support of the Three of Cups. Is the Ace of Swords and the Four of Wands. Okay, so the Ace of Swords and the Four of Wands together. There may be something involved with the home here, but just an overall sense of stability from the support that's coming in. And there should also be, like, with the Ace of Swords in this deck is also about there being a little hint of a sadness with a new beginning or a new awareness, conscious awareness. So with the Ace of Wands and the Ace of Swords and the Four of Wands together, just new ideas about what it is to feel secure and what stability and security means for you. That may be changing for you this weekend, or has already started to change leading into this weekend. So just know that there may be a hint of sadness as you move out of an old idea of what stability and security is into the new idea of stability and security. And that's okay, because again, you have support, and the support should be showing up or making itself known in real ways. I hope that makes sense. I'm just a messenger. So I know how this applies a little bit to me. I'm gonna see what happens for the rest of the weekend. Take what resonates. If it don't apply, let it fly. All right. Remember, again, the song for this weekend is Spins by Smino. Yep, Spins by Smino. And have a wonderful weekend. I'm gonna get this together when I use the iPad. So peace.